Hello, welcome to another Scryfall Shenanigans episode. So yeah, this one, Invokers, as you can see here. So thanks to the person that requested this in a comment. It's probably quite a while ago from between when the comment was made and when I've actually recorded and released this video. But thanks once again for suggesting these. As always, you know, if there's any particular cluster of cards in Magic the Gathering that you might think are interesting featured in a Scryfall Shenanigans episode, then yeah, please put your request in the comments section and I will get round to it. I've got quite a number that I really want to do, but yeah, at some point I'll take a look at any requests where I think it's, you know, going to fit into this format, I suppose. So what we'll do is we'll look through just the timeline generally of Invokers, and you can see already, if you look at the cards, Invoker is a commonality in the name, not a commonality in the creature type. They are all creatures. We've got 19 cards here, which I think, well, 18 of them, the template is very similar. One of them, there's a bit of a tweak to it, and then we've got a card at the end which works well with Invokers, does have Invoker in the title, in its name, but is not templated in the same way. So we'll get onto that at the end. You can probably see already, spoiler alert, what it's going to be. So first up on the Magic timeline, we have this cycle from Legions, and I'll go through these groups of cards individually in a moment, but I just wanted to get a sort of top-down look at this so we can start to see the commonality in the templating. So what do we notice? Well, you can see that the casting cost is all over the place. So we've got, you know, CMC of 2 for these two. We've got one here which is 5, or in a couple that are 3. But they all have a single colour of their relevant colour in the casting cost, and then the rest of the casting cost is made up of any manner of colour, ranging, like I said, from 1 up to 4. And then we have the activation here on this, you know, spell that's been stapled onto the Invoker. Some of them are things that benefit you in case of life. Some of them benefit the Invoker. In the case of the blue one here, you can see it gives Glintwing Invoker +3/+3 flying until end of turn. Some of them target other things, so this does -3/-3 to a target creature. So we've got removal here. 5 damage to a target player here, so direct damage. And then this one is a 5/5 pump on itself. But you can see they're all 7 mana of any colour, and then 1 mana of the appropriate colour or the relevant colour for the card. And there's that cycle. Then we have to wait until Rise of the Eldrazi to get the next group of Invokers. And this is probably the first time I saw these cards when I opened Rise of the Eldrazi cards, around about the time it came out. So these I would have discovered, these early ones, retrospectively. Another one where it's an interesting group of cards to have like a mini collection, I think, of in paper. So I should go through. I've probably got most of these actually already. Probably it's not so much the later stuff. I don't think I've got this one. But these are all look common, aren't they? So good chance I've opened some of these just in opening boosters. These ones, I'm trying to remember like what I know, you know, I've done in other episodes. I've gone through, and for pre-modern cards for certain sets I do have some interesting cycles, but I can't remember if I've got this cycle of Invokers. But certainly it looks pretty interesting, and we'll have a look at the artwork in a moment as well, and we'll zoom in a little bit. But going back to Rise of the Eldrazi, so 2 of these have flying on them as well. in addition to this time round, the 8 cost for the spell that's been stapled on is now mana of any colour. So again, pretty heavy investment. I suspect when we look at this, some of the tags will come up. Might be things like, you know, mana sink, that sort of stuff, but we'll see when we get there. So yeah, tap down all the creatures target player controls. Creatures you control gain flying until end of turn, so that's all your creatures. Target player loses 3 life and you gain 3 life. So we've got life drain on here for 8 though. This one, creatures you control get +3/+0 until end of turn, and then this one, similar to this, +5/+5, but we also get trample as well. Then we've got a cycle from Battle for Zendikar. Again, here it's 8 mana of any colour. And also, I didn't point out again, you can see the casting costs all over the map with these still, so no consistency in the casting cost there. Right, this is 3 damage on here. We've got, this one is, 3 damage, +5/+5 and trample again. So 1 and a green, 1 and a green. 2, 2, 2, 2. Okay, it's pretty close, isn't it? Sorry, did I say cycle? I meant to say just 2 cards. My mistake. It isn't a cycle. Yeah, just a couple of cards. Okay. This is the cycle. There we go, yeah. So, Bane's Invoker, Time War's Invoker. I was wondering why it wasn't in Ruberg order. Yeah. Okay, so moving on to Commander Legends, Battle for Baldur's Gate. Bane's, Timora's, Merkles, Baal's, and Sylvanas. I'm just looking here, so these would be namesake invokers, wouldn't they? And they all have, okay, this is interesting. So, yeah, so we have this additional thing here. So, Windwalk, -8, up to 2 target creatures get +2/+2 and gain flying until end of turn. Sleight of Hand, 8. Draw 2 cards. Psychic Blades, 8. Creatures you control get +2/+0 and gain menace until end of turn. A creature's menace can't be blocked except by 2 or more creatures. Scorching Ray, 8. Baal's Invoker deals 4 damage to each opponent. Interesting. And then Conjure Elemental, 8. Untap target land you control. It becomes an 8/8 elemental creature with trample and haste until end of turn. It's still a land. So it's going to be interesting to see how these have been tagged up based on the naming of these stapled on spells here. Now this is an interesting one. So you can see here it's a transform card. So we've got this transformation cost, which is actually 6 and then 1 Black Forensian mana. So you can either pay that with single black or with 2 life. And then once you transform it, when it transforms into Malady Invoker, target creature and opponent controls get -0/-X until end of turn, where X is Malady Invoker's power. So it's not, doesn't become an invoker until you transform it, and also that's when this spell is activated. And to get there, this is your cost. And then Razorgrass Invoker from Foundation's Jumpstart, so very recent. It's 4/3 with Vigilance, so the Vigilance is already there. And then for 8, It and up to one other target creature each get +3/+3 until end of turn. Okay, so let's look at the groupings here and look at the artwork a little bit closer, look at how many times they've been reprinted, those sort of things, whether they've been errated. So already we notice that, yep, they've expanded out the creature subtypes here. 10th edition and Legions. It'd be interesting to see if the whole cycle has been reprinted. Doesn't look like it has, so we've just got selective reprinting here in 10th. Glintwing. So yeah, I like the artwork on this one. Human Wizard Mutant was in Dominaria Remastered. Again, Legions. So yeah, this is the cycle from Legions. Another cool piece of artwork. Zombie Mutant. So the creature type hasn't been errated here, but never been reprinted. Flamewave Invoker. And this has cropped up quite a few times. 10th edition. So that was reprinted in 10th. Then we've got it in some dual decks as well. Battle Bond, and crops up in certain sets where the list is used to sort of slot in cards from Magic's history. And then Stonewood Invoker, Dominaria Remastered, Elves vs Goblins dual deck. And of course the original from Legions, Elf Mutant. So of course here you can see the ones that haven't had or haven't needed to have erratas to their creature types are because originally they were, in this case, a zombie, a goblin and an elf. And what they've done respectively with the blue and white ones, this was a wizard but it's made it a human wizard, and this was a cleric, so it's made it a human cleric. We'll see how that pans out on the other ones. So if I go into this just to make it a little bit easier and just have a little look at the tagging here. Mana Sink, life gain, unique type line, creature type errata. Looking to see if there's anything out of the ordinary. Yep, so these are all going to be classified as mana sinks because of the sheer amount of mana there you could sink into it. Yeah, nothing particularly unusual that we've not seen before in this series. So we'll go through. Yeah, this episode is more of a sort of tag and artwork episode. Well, towards the end we'll have a look at some EDHRec stuff and maybe loop back round and do a little bit of Cube Cobra Shenanigans as well. Oh, here we go, yeah. So there's Stonewood Invocation. Referenced by. It's also got split second on it. Okay, moving on to the ones from Rise of the Eldrazi. I think one of these, was it this one? Yeah, this is reprinted in Commander 2015. And consequently, because of that, turned up in one of the anthologies where they reprinted those. Rise of the Eldrazi. Oh, dual decks and the list. Yeah, so several of these haven't been reprinted at all. Oh, and it seems to be these cards that turn up, so certain cards turn up quite a bit in the dual decks. This did turn up in Commander Legends, and this is one that looks like it has been reprinted quite a few times. So Elf Shaman, Goblin, Vampire, so no need to errata the creatures, Merfolk, core. So yeah, these are all already specific types within the creature type. So elves, goblins, vampire, merfolk and core. So there's no need to like precede this by human, as we saw the other ones, because that wouldn't make any sense. You wouldn't have a human core or a human merfolk. At least I don't think you would. Okay, let's go back into this one. What have we got in the tagger? Anything out of the ordinary? No. Tapper, evasion, yeah, because of the flying. Wasn't it 2 of these that had flying on them? Oh, Nimbus of the Isles. Okay, there's a 3/3 with flying, but without the invoker stuff. Oh. So yeah, same creature, just doesn't have creatures you control gain flying until end of turn stapled onto it. So this is obviously better than this. Evasion gives flying as well, and another mana sink. I suspect all of these are going to be tagged up as mana sinks. Oh yeah, Valakut Invoker, of course. 3 damage to any target. So that's players or creatures. So that's where it's saying it's similar, because you're getting the 3 here through. This is just actually the player using 3 lives. So there's some overlap there with similarities. Yep, drain life. And there's tons of stuff that drain life. So yeah, interesting addition to a drain life deck. It's got fire breathing, +3, +0. I always wondered if they'd ever been tempted to give this a slightly different term than fire breathing. Because with fire breathing, yeah, it's +X, +0. And I wondered whether, you've got fire breathing and then you've got, I don't know, incinerator or whatever. I'm trying to think what the plus lightning breathing. So you could like differentiate between the just the +1, +0 one and things like +3, +0 or whatever. Power boost all. Just because of the nature of these, you can probably guess that quite a lot of these are fairly common in Magic, in terms of how often they crop up. Oh yeah, referenced by One Reef Invoker. So yeah, you notice here that this is 2 and 2 green for a 4/3 with this ability on it. Oran Reef is 1 and a green, 2/2 with the ability, both +5 and the trample. Okay, moving on. Valakut Invoker. So this is from Battle for Zendikar. Also in Commander Legends and the list. And with just 2 of these, yeah, there's Oran Reef. There's in the dual deck and the list. I feel very relaxed doing this. It's a nice video to record. And you can cross-reference there to Wildheart Invoker as well. but not a functional reprint, obviously, because there's quite a big difference in the power toughness and the casting cost when you compare the two. What's this in here? Oh, crikey, quite a few then. Yeah. So as we've been going through this, you probably noticed that the red cards and the black cards, there's, you know, some commonality in different cards. But then also you've got, just because the power toughness and casting cost combination, there's several vanilla cards which are essentially this, but without this invoking, without the spells stapled on. Okay, another cycle. So this is the Battle for Baldur's Gate, which is the Commander Legends set. So we're getting a bit more up to date now. So, you know, there's less sets that it could be potentially reprinted in. And here it looks like we've basically just got one that's been reprinted, and that's online anyway, so, you know, it doesn't really count when we're talking about in paper sets. Again, this is really interesting what they did on this with the sort of named ability. So we'll have a look at that and see how that manifests itself in tags, if indeed it does, because that's not something I've paid a lot of mind to. So yes, it was a namesake spell because of this. I'd mentioned that. And yeah, in Magic there's quite a number of namesake spells. Manasig gives flying. Repeatable draw. Yeah, I mean, you could, if you had 16 mana at your disposal, repeat these spells. So you can see some are more appropriate to repeating than others. But yeah, that's a possibility. So similar to... So yeah, here's one where we are getting close. Mystic Archaeologist. So 1 and a blue. It's a 2-1 as opposed to 1-3. And then for 3 and 2 blue, we get to draw 2 cards. And then we got third path 7th. So for 7, draw 2 cards. 2 and a blue to cast, and then it's a 2-3. And then this one for Darling Soldiers is an example again of a fairly close vanilla creature. So it's, you know, the creature without the invoking bit on it, without the stapled on spell. Yep. So interesting, we've got fire breathing here on a black creature. Power boost to all. Namesake spell. And with fire breathing, you know, if we wanted to, we can look through and see if we sort this by colour, say. You can sort of get a feel for what, you know, what colour of magic tends to have, was more likely to have fire breathing than others. Also probably notice where that's the case. And it isn't red, because I always associate red with fire breathing, then in some instances the activation cost for the fire breathing is actually red. So yeah, but you can see a few here in white actually where it is, the activation cost is white. So in blue, again, some blue activation cost, some red. There's black, there's a few here. our old friend, Knight of Stromgold, that's cropped up a lot in the this old decked episode. Yeah, just as a spoiler alert here, so cover your ears. Got an interesting one coming up. We're going to be looking at pox. The deck, that is, not the not the disease. Yeah, so we've got a this old deck episode. Next one I'm going to shoot after this is pox. So I'm looking forward to doing that. Oh yeah, of course, Order of the Ebon Hand. That would have been in several different artwork, wouldn't it, as well, because it was Fallen Empires. I think I prefer this one out of the three. Oh, Pit Imp. Yeah, I forgot. And then here's all the red stuff. Oh, some classics here. Oh, of course, Crown of Flames. That had it, didn't it? I could spend ages just looking at fire-breathing stuff. I'm trying to think, actually. The other one I could do one time is if there's like a tag that you like, where there's 20 cards is around a good number of cards to do for these sort of Scryfall Shenanigans episodes. So just bear that in mind. I do more cards than that sometime, but then I'd spend less time going down the rabbit holes if I do that. And I do it more on like a timeline thing, like I did with, I think, was it the Mana Rocks one? But yeah, if there's a particular ability where you know, particularly one that's stapled to a creature, where you know there's not many cards with that ability on, let me know in the comments section. I can always do a Scryfall Shenanigans on that, because that might be quite interesting. Because as we can go down lots of different things, like what's it combined with, what colours does it normally, is it activated with, those sort of things. But a lot of dragons here, you can see. A lot of really cool dragon artwork. And just lots of really interesting cards, actually. God. I suppose I could do one on like +3/+0 fire breathing. I should think about that. It's a shame it doesn't have a special name. I want to call it lightning breathing, but I don't know how anybody feels about that. Lightning breath. Because what? Lightning bolt breath. So lightning bolts +3. Sorry, lightning bolt is 3 damage. I think. Although, yeah, I'm just trying to think. It'd be more correct, wouldn't it? Yeah. Anyway, just winging it as I go along. I'm just trying to think. What card? Oh, it's +3/+3. We'll have a look in a moment. See if I can name that sort of thing. So yeah, the red stuff just goes on and on and on. We get into green. Some interesting stuff there. Folk of the Pines, and then we get into the multicoloured stuff, of which there are several. Interesting things like Steel Moon Cavalier. It's funny, when I did this episode, I had no idea I'd be going down a fire-breathing side quest, but yeah, it was worth it. So where's my old friend? Oh, there's some cool stuff. When was this printed? Ice Age. There's just so many cards in the early sets. I just forget about them. But to me, they're just so cool. Just something about the aesthetic. Yes. This one. Good old Steel Hellkite. I think I prefer the... What was the original artwork for this, if we go back in time? So that, I see what they did. So that was the Scars of Meridian one. So that's the first one I saw. But the promo one was done in the other artwork. Interesting. I don't know what your favourite is. I mean, this is mine just because this was probably the first time I saw it. But yeah, I love that artwork. Of course, this one, is that from Ice Age as well? Yeah. Again, Ice Age artifact. Have I done an episode on that yet? I know I've done various artifact ones, but I've done quite a few of these now, so I sort of forget which ones I've done. Oh, there's X-Parasite, of course. Interesting way of blowing up a planeswalker, but also off the back of that you get fire breathing. So first thing I'll do, I'm just gonna do an oracle search for just the +3 +0 stuff. Ooh, okay. Interesting. Oh well, that's that's nerfed that, unless okay. It's really turned into a side quest. Let's see where we go here. 46. Yeah, it's a bit high. Any other way I can sort of slim it down a bit? Yeah, it might be too many to do a separate episode on stuff that gets +3 +0. Just trying to think how I can slim it down a bit more. Although saying that, I could probably do a, bi-colour sort of slice thing. That works sometimes in more creatures, and just talk generally about how that, how the +3 +0 manifests itself in different it's in paper, isn't it, rather than newspaper. Yes, we have gone off down an interesting side quest there. Yeah, let me know in the comment section if you would like me to do this. I'm pretty ambivalent to this, actually, looking at it. But yeah, if you want me to explore specifically about cards that give, well, creatures that either give themselves or something else +3 +0, let me know in the comment section. Okay, moving on. So yeah, March of the Machines, sorry. We have this interesting one. So a little bit different than the other ones, but it does transform into this creature, which immediately transforms. You get this spell effect, and the transformation cost is sort of up there. It's not quite 8, but it is 7. I mean, you could say, well, if you add, it's an 8 if it's, it's 6 and 2 life. So yeah, there is that. Well, that's interesting. Razor grass in. Oh, actually, am I able to just look at this one? Yeah, I am. Okay, so that was actually part of a cycle, but not specifically an invoker cycle. Life gain, power self, ability, unique creature type line. Okay, here we go. So this is very new. This is Foundations. Hopefully I'll get around to doing the Foundations set musings. I've sort of rather fallen off the wagon with that a little bit, keeping those up to date. So I'm just going to try and work out how I can tackle those going forward. I suppose part of it was the reason why I stopped doing them was that I tried to focus on stuff that was, I don't know how you could say this, but just within the regular expansion. So I tended not to feature, except as special episodes, the aggregate sets or special sets or Universes Beyond. But now everything's got a little bit more muddy. I don't know quite how I'm going to tackle that. So I sort of dialed back a little bit on keeping up to date with the set musings, but I need to just write myself and work out how I can best deal with those, because I like doing them, and I know certain people want me to do certain ones. So I might do just pick certain newer sets that I haven't done and then do them, and then go back. And I do know there's some earlier sets before Tempest, pre-Tempest, that I haven't covered yet, which I wouldn't mind doing. So yeah, so at some point I will return to the set musings episodes, but I'm not quite sure when and exactly what form that will take. But this has just made me think about doing that. So Vigilance with, again, 8 cost here on this stapled on spell. Fun Ruling. Okay. Cards with the rulings and go fun with this. So I don't see it here though. I don't see anything in the rules. The nice thing you'll notice about these Invokers as well is so far you've seen none of them, have to be tapped. Obviously, they wouldn't make any sense for those which are targeting itself with pump abilities, because you need, it's a combat thing. You wouldn't want to be tapped down. But, just generally looking at them, you can see that they're not getting tapped down for any of the other ones where the card's not being affected directly. So they're still usable as a blockable, attackable creature. Okay, so moving on to, with this group of 19 cards, the prices. And again, with this, remember, I don't always flag it up, but it's going to select it's going to put them in order of most expensive to least expensive, but it'll pick the version which is the cheapest to do that. So yeah, we're not talking about a lot of money here, if you want to, and even that what would be the original copies, as you can see, are pretty cheap. So if you're looking for like another one of these interesting in-paper collections, I don't think you can go too wrong with a nice little sub-binder of Invokers, personally. I mean, they're not necessarily super powerful cards. I mean, they have a pretty splashy effect, some of them, but I do think the artwork on them is really interesting, and the fact that several of them are cycles as well adds to that thing where it's nice when they're sort of laid out in paper in a binder. Out of all of the one, I just feel particularly drawn to this. I'm not quite sure why. It's got quite a lot going on. It also has echoes of other artwork from this era as well. It's all pretty dramatic as well. Normally, some of these are in quite a heroic pose, I think. And standing heroically. And then the EDHRec ranking, Bowles Invoker comes out top. And we'll talk about this card in a moment, actually. I'm glad that came up. But while we're talking about EDH, we'll talk about... And it's something that has Invoker in the title, but template-wise, it's odd one out. And the colour combinations are important as well in terms of how that might interact and what cards you can choose from as well. And lots of fun commanders here, actually. It's 5 colour. I don't know quite what a 5-colour Invoker deck would look like and what commander you'd have to run. And then at this point, this is a good idea to look at Cube Cobra, I think. Oh, there's Lightning Bolt. Scorching Ray. What are they saying it synergizes well with? Oh, there's Slaughter Cry, wow. I love these sort of drill down stuff here. You can just sort of sit here and then click on the next one, and yeah. You just spend days drilling down through this sort of stuff. These are the sort of websites I love. You can just while away several hours drilling down, and just the cards you can sort of reacquaint yourself or even just discover for the first time in the context of synergies, which I think is really useful. And then I expected this to be up fairly high. Wild Heart Invoker, although of course relatively speaking, yeah, the Invokers generally aren't in a massive number of decks. But again, good to see like where it ends up in terms of the commander decks. And then finally we have this. So this was printed in Commander Legends Battle for Baldur's Gate. So with that other cycle. And you can see this is just blue, red, white. But has this really interesting ability on it, which says you may activate abilities of other creatures you control as though those creatures had haste. So they don't have summoning sickness. So yeah. Tap when you next activate an ability that isn't a mana ability this turn by spending 4 or more mana to activate it. Copy that ability. You may choose new targets. Now, of course, that's pretty important because, yeah, those Invoker abilities are definitely above 4. So that's why, yeah, I did want to include this card. And it does have an Invoker in the title, but, there's no 8 do this on here. But it plays nice with large cost activation abilities. Over 4 or more. I've got this Day Zero errata. Has anybody come across this before? I just noticed this when I took a quick peek today. It's something very new. I don't know how long it's been here. So this is where they've had to errata a card on Day Zero. It's got the second ability now specifies it won't respond to mana abilities. This was functional errata to preserve how the card was supposed to work. Mana abilities can't be copied, but they'd still be seen to activate, so they'd use up the trigger. Yeah, so interesting thing. Like I said, I'm not. You can see here what they've done. So here it says when you next activate an ability this turn by spending 4 or more mana to activate it, copy that ability. You may choose new targets for the copy. When you next activate an ability that isn't a mana ability this turn by spending 4 or more, copy that ability. You may choose new targets for the copy. So yeah, instant errata. Oh, here we go. This is a cool search. Then activates the cost 4 plus mana to activate. So always check out the related searches, because trying to put one of these together, you can see anybody that's done regular expressions, yeah, you will know how mind-blowing doing some of these is. But yeah, it's cool that there's a related search there, if indeed it'll come up. Looks like my collection's a little slow. There we go. So all sorts of stuff that would work alongside that. Now it has its also, I didn't check, so there's some of these wouldn't necessarily work in a commander deck, but it doesn't matter here because in Scryfall we don't care. But yeah, if you were using it to work out, you'd have to screen out or screen in just the colour combinations as well, which is pretty easy to do. Look at that, it's huge. Oh, I forgot about this. That's so funny. Did you dress it up like this? Mav will look pretty cool. With a spiky collar and like a blade on his tail. Yeah. I don't know, he's pretty feisty already, so I don't know whether you want to start adding armour. Quite okay for a battle jacket, but yeah, spiky collars and blades on the tail is not a good combination with Mav. Okay, well, there we go. I've really enjoyed doing this. Well, I always enjoy doing these episodes, but yeah, this brought a smile to my face. Yeah, I was so tempted to actually make this. I'm trying to do a thing now where I buy myself a really simple monthly treat, and it could be anything. It might be a book, or it might be magic cards. It could be. So I am tempted to make a set of invokers, including, how much is our friend here? Oh yeah, that would be nice actually. Maybe that will be next month's treat. I could just imagine that in a binder. Anyway, it's enough of the aesthetics, fantasies. Thanks once again for watching. Bye for now, and I will definitely catch you in a future episode.